And welcome into the Wheelhouse here, Elevation 5280 Sports and Lifestyle here on this Sunday morning. I guess we're back to Sunday morning. Mark Saxton filling in once again. Mark, how are we this morning?
Fantastic. Had a great weekend of sports.
Yeah, there was. It is, well, I don't know if it's great, but it's NBA All-Star Weekend. It's the Four Nations face-off in the NHL. I know you were watching some UFC we'll get into. And, yeah, there's just a lot going on. Although the two main sports leagues are on their quote-unquote All-Star break at the current moment, still a lot going on. So we will get into all of that. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow us on all social medias, on Facebook, on X, on Instagram, subscribe to our YouTube, Spotify, Amazon Music, and Apple Podcasts as well. And make sure you go to e5280sports.com for blogs and all of our videos and audio as well. So a lot to get to. This and most shows on the network brought to you by Pikes Peak Sports Cards. If you're in the Denver, Colorado Springs area, head over to Pikes Peak Sports Cards. They do shows. It almost seems like every weekend. If you follow them on Facebook, why don't you do that too? Give them a follow on Facebook. Seems like they have a show almost every weekend. A lot of sports memorabilia, obviously a lot of cards if you're into collecting as well. So make sure you go check them out as well as our stuff as well. But like we said, a lot to get into, and all of our stuff is encapsulated in a segment we call Fire and Ice. So we have the three who's hot, who's not, basically in the world of sports. And well, Aaron Rodgers is in the news again. We will get into him. The Basketball Hall of Fame finalists, we will get into that. And again, this is all inside of Fire and Ice.
It's now time for Fire.
Give me fuel, give me fire, give me that which I desire.
He's on fire!
I'm only one a burning desire. Let me stand next to your fire.
And Ice.
Ice Cube, baby.
You're as cold as ice. Ice, ice, baby.
Again, Fire and Ice, kind of a top three who's hot, who's not in the world of sports over the last week or the last 12 hours, as a lot of these will be. Mark, where are we kicking things off this morning?
Let's start it off on fire. Let's do it.
All right. I think it's 25 Hall of Fame finalists for the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame. Keep in mind, this Hall of Fame, I think we mentioned this last week, basically lets in everybody.
Yeah.
Just
That's
everybody.
an unfortunate standard.
Yeah, so we will get into which Hall of Fame is the best here in a second, but you may know names like Carmelo Anthony, Billy Donovan. I don't know how Billy Donovan, maybe for his coaching in college, I'm guessing, because he's still coaching in the NBA. Dwight Howard
Deserves it.
Despite all his many attempts to cry his way back onto the Lakers, he's been retired for that long, or I'm going to say, quote, retired, because I don't know if he officially even announced his retirement.
Right. He's kind of put it down, right?
Because he's trying to get back into the league. And then a whole bunch of names, Mark, that I don't recognize except for Sue Bird in the WNBA, which that's probably well-deserving as well. But, yeah, basically the only two names I recognize is Carmelo Anthony, Dwight Howard, Sue Bird, and I guess the 2008 U.S. Olympic men's basketball team is a finalist, as well as Billy Donovan as a coach. But I'm assuming for his services at Florida back when he was a coach of two back-to-back national champions.
But and I agree with you. The standard's so low for this Hall of Fame in my opinion. I mean, Billy Donovan, I don't see it. Obviously, Melo deserves it. Dwight Howard deserves it on a lot of his stats. But, I mean, like you said, just a lot of talk, a lot of BS, a lot of nonsense. Sue Bird, naturally, why wouldn't you? But that whole 2008 U.S. Olympics men's basketball team, the whole team, come on.
Doesn't even matter if you're a bench warmer on that team.
Right.
You're getting in. You're getting in. So yeah, that's your that's your Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame finalist. I don't know how many of these people are getting in. You might as well just let all of them in because eventually everyone's going to get in anyway. So it'll be announced the finalists, the new class, the people who are getting in and will have speeches and stuff in Massachusetts for where the Naismith Hall of Fame is. It will be announced on Saturday, April 5th. So that's when we'll know for sure who's getting in.
I will say this. I think the voter that voted against Ichiro needs to be the voter in basketball to kind of even things out.
Well, let's talk about that because a lot of people criticize the Baseball Hall of Fame. You know, there not too long ago, I don't know what year it was, nobody got in because you have to have, what is it, 92 or 95% of whatever it
95.
is.
I think it's 95.
95% of the vote. If you do not have 95% of the vote, you do not get in baseball. And honestly, a lot of people slam that and criticize that, but look how prestigious the Baseball Hall of Fame is. I mean, there's years where nobody's good enough to get in. And I like that, but a lot of people don't. If you look at the NFL Hall of Fame, it's kind of like that. You know, you get voted on and stuff like that. But then, you know, there's guys who played back in the 80s who still waiting to get in. So they have like that legacy class too, which, you know,
Right.
like Sterling Sharp is going to be a part of this season for the NFL. And, you know, the NHL Hall of Fame is kind of the same. There's only like 3-4 that get in each year. So it's kind of prestigious as well. But again, they I don't know if it is called the NHL Hall of Fame. But I think they still let in, you know, a bunch of international players who, you know, never played in the NHL and stuff like that as well. I think, could be wrong on that, you know, zero research, all reaction. So, but the Basketball Hall of Fame, I don't want to say it's a joke, Mark, but I think they need to tighten up the screws on something because
No,
I don't know. There's
completely
just
agree.
it's just something fishy that goes on with not fishy, but just something strange and weird that goes on with this Hall of Fame.
No, I completely agree. I just, like I said, I feel like they need some of those, you know, voters that, like I said, the one that voted against Ichiro, or, you know, back in the 90s, the East German judges, if you will, to come in and kind of level things out. I think it's just loosey-goosey. I don't know. In baseball, I mean, it was such a great conversation piece with David Ortiz making the Hall of Fame, being that he was testing positive in 04, bringing in the Bonds argument, right? The Manny Ramirez argument, all this stuff. So, I mean, I think basketball needs to tighten it up. I think that there's plenty of talent out there and plenty of greats that you can recognize without, and I hate to use the word tarnish, but you know, almost tarnishing those greats with some of the guys that they have let in. I mean, heck, they didn't even let Eli this last vote for the NFL, and Eli was maybe fractions difference with his brother Peyton, who Peyton was an easy pick. So it's kind of tough for me.
Yeah, so there is your finalist for the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame. Once again, the official people who are getting in will be announced April 5th. So I guess stay tuned for that. Number 2 on the fire list, Mark. Well, it is Return of the Mac. Once again, Mac McClung saves the slam dunk contest for
All
NBA
50s.
All-Star Weekend. Did not even get a score in the 40s. Not only was it, I mean, his first dunk, he literally brought out a car,
Yeah.
and he was like, "Yo, screw Blake Griffin. I'm gonna jump over the top." The Blake Griffin only jumped over the hood of the
He
car.
jumped over the entire.
He jumped over the sunroof. He went flying over the sunroof where the dude was holding the ball for him. And not only that, Mark, but he dunked on every first attempt, all 3 dunks. He did not miss it. The dude from Chicago, like, he just gave up and he ran out of time. The dude from Milwaukee was terrible. Action Jackson, whatever his name was, and then the Lithuanian dude from Chicago was terrible, and the dude from San Antonio, he made it to the final with McClung, but didn't really stand a chance, as McClung used, he did use props and people every dunk, but I mean, they were just when you thought every dunk was attempted in the dunk contest, here comes little old white boy, Mac McClung.
The Mac attack.
And wins his third straight, mind you. Third straight. Only the second player ever to win 3 slam dunk contests, joining Nate Robinson. Not even the tallest dudes to win the slam
Nate.
dunk contest. Yeah.
Nate the Great.
Who prayers up to him because he's in like liver failure in the hospital right now. But yeah, give it up to Mac McClung, still balling in the G League, by the way, not even in the NBA.
Yeah.
Do you think he's kind of, I wouldn't say upset or offended, but they're like, here, you can use an official Magic jersey for the slam dunk, but make sure you give it back because you're still in the G League, buddy.
I'm glad you brought that up because that was my first point was, the three-peat. And, he still hasn't even been able to don an NBA jersey. It's gotta be an insult, in my opinion. I mean, you can't be used in the regular season, but we'll use you for entertainment. It's kind of one of those like gladiator moments, right? Like Marcus Aurelius, are you not entertained? I mean, he's there as a show pony, if you will, and I think that's a little disrespectful. However, I'm not trying to take anything from him, in his accomplishments in these moments, but I want more for him, if you will.
Yeah, and he was interviewed afterward on the court saying they were like, "Hey, are you going to come back and defend your title?" He goes, "I don't know. This might be it for me." But then he also said, "Unless they really want me back, then I might do it again." And they are going to really want him back unless they get big names, because they announced all the guys who were in the slam dunk. I was like, who the hell are these people besides McClung? The only reason we know who McClung is because he's won it the last 2 years, and he's playing in the G League. He's more recognizable than dudes who are in the NBA in the dunk contest. It's crazy. Yeah.
And once again, though, that we talked about this on the Wheelhouse a few weeks back where, like you said, it's kind of like a who cares if it ain't McClung and insert white guy to be able to dunk here. They're running out of fresh ideas. They're running out of ideas in general, and it bothers me because I think they could do so much more.
Yeah, and give him credit because he was creative in all 3 of his dunks. Something we really haven't seen before. Again, just when you thought every dunk has been attempted, it was cool also the NBA bringing out Vince Carter, having him introduce everybody, because back 25 years ago, it was Vince Carter, basically doing what McClung did yesterday and sweeping
as a Raptor
the slam dunk contest. Yeah, as a Toronto Raptor. And, him doing the famous "it's over," stuff like that. And then John Morant, good old gun-toting Morant, comes out and tweets, he said McClung got, I'm paraphrasing, I had it, but I closed the page, but he said Mac got me out here thinking to dunk or something like that. And then he even gave a shout out and he said, AG, what's up? Aaron Gordon and Zach LaVine, what's up? So, I mean, if you can get those 3 guys in the dunk contest next year, McClung might have to come back to try to defend his title, but I don't know. I don't know if McClung doesn't come back next year, Mark. I don't know what you do, but
I don't think you watch.
I mean, if you were him, I don't know how old he is, but if you were him, would you retire from the dunk contest after winning 3 in a row? I mean, he beat literally a bunch of people nobody's ever heard of. I know Castle from the Spurs is a rookie, so his name's not. I mean, he watching games with him against the Nuggets, he in-game dunks are pretty fantastic.
Oh,
but,
yeah. No, honestly, if I'm McClung, I have my mind made up secretly. I don't come out publicly, but I say, hey, you know what? I'm this is probably going to be it, unless next year the NBA comes up with something that actual people will want to watch, and then I come back and say, hey, I'm here to defend it. Unless that happens, I'm coming out last second saying, sorry guys, I'm taking my 3-peat. I'm going home. Have a good life. I enjoyed my time.
Yeah. I don't know what the NBA can do besides maybe saying maybe the NBA has to come out and say, hey, you got to jump over Victor Wembanyama for your first dunk. Second round, you got to jump over a car. Third round, you got to jump through a flaming hoop. Like, that's the only way the NBA might be able to save this thing is if it basically a game of horse but dunking.
Right. Yeah. You gotta add the tank of piranhas going in there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You gotta. What was Austin Powers? The sharks with the freaking lasers on their heads. You gotta add that.
Yeah, you got to add some kind of obstacle for the. And I was like, McClung came down after he did like hit his left foot on the car on his way down, and then he kind of landed awkwardly. I was like, oh man, that. And then he popped right back up, and I was like, all right, I guess he's okay. But
really,
Reggie Miller.
But really after the first one, I felt like, oh, here we go again. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I was the only one, but after his first dunk, I was like, he's got it. I mean,
well, especially the dude from Chicago didn't even make a dunk.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
In the first round. And then the guy from Milwaukee again, he missed every attempt, and then he had to change and just do almost a normal dunk just to get on the board, basically.
Right.
But McClung, not only was his creative and harder than the other dudes, but he made it. He made it every first attempt. Like, he dunked it. And the one where the guy was on the ladder and the other guy was holding it and he jumped over the guy, dunked that one, and he basically dunked 2 balls at once. That was pretty clever. And then, to come out with a car mark on your first dunk, like, you're like, all right, whoever's behind me, good luck.
Right. Pretty much. Yeah, no, he set the tone. It was kind of, once again, like I said, after his first one, it was like, all right, we know who's going to win.
Yeah. Yeah, he was trying very hard to defend his back-to-back dunking contest championship. So congrats to McClung. Hopefully he gets another chance in the actual NBA. He's been a G League MVP. He's led the G League in scoring. And so we will see. What's funny is waiting at the Orlando airport to come back to Denver last week, Mark, literally a whole bunch of dudes like 6'8", 6'5" walked by, and they had a team name on their shirts, and I looked it up, and it was the G League affiliate of the Orlando Magic. But I do not remember seeing Mac. Otherwise, maybe I would have stopped him.
That's maybe an opportunity missed, right? You got to look a little, but I mean, who's going to be prepared for that moment?
I know, and then they're obviously flying commercial, so they just walked literally through with the rest of us scrubs.
Yeah, shout out to the NBA for taking care of their affiliates. So way to go.
Excuse me, but yeah, I'm trying to look at what their team name is, because I was like, what is that team name? But yeah, if I would have noticed Mac McClung walking through the airport, maybe I could have been out there holding the ball for him.
Like I said, opportunities are out there every time. Every time, we just got to look out for them.
Yeah, so I guess they're just called the Magic. I don't even know how to pronounce this city. It's Osceola. Osceola? Osceola, maybe? I don't know. But all their shirts said Osceola basketball. So and I know McClung wore that jersey last year because they were like, no, you're not wearing an NBA jersey in the
God forbid.
Yeah. All right. Number 1 on the fire list, Mark. We talked about it briefly, but the NHL is also in its All-Star break. Although they switched it up, they switched gears. They switched gears for a minute, and
I'm so stoked.
They're trying this 4 nations face-off. And if you missed the Canada-USA game today, you missed out because it was a thrilling game. or excuse me, yesterday, and spoiler alert, but U.S. won 3-1 over
Oh,
Canada.
so stoked,
And-
dude. I'm fired up just talking about it.
Yeah, so not only that, but I'm always on the lookout for like jerseys and stuff like that, Mark. And the jerseys that all teams are wearing are pretty cool.
Clean.
I don't know what Finland says, but it starts with like a U, but it looks cool. And
Clean.
yeah, I like how like the assistant and the captain's patch for the US are like the interstate signs,
Oh yeah.
and the C or the A is inside of that. I always look out for like patches and stuff like that, because patches, if it's too cluttered, like the Chiefs jerseys during the Super Bowl really
Easy to
bothered
ruin.
me,
Easy to
because
ruin.
they had like their captain's patch up here. I was like, you could probably take off. We all know you're like one of the official OG AFC conference teams. You don't need that patch anymore.
Right.
But yeah, so did you watch that game today? What are you thinking of the overall Four Nations face-off? And should they do this instead of an All-Star game from now on?
Absolutely. Hands down, I think this is the most breath of fresh air for all sports. It's something that players care about, that we can watch and enjoy. And it's not, in my opinion, because I do understand the player's point where it's like, hey, this is our time for a break and to relax and get time with the family. Completely understand that. But I think the NHL got this one right, because this is something that the players can get on board with, and now they care about. Hey, let's get this going. Let's get it going for the country. Let's get it going for the team. Let's get it going, for each other. The brotherhood. I'm over the moon with it. I cannot get enough of this. I think that hockey is failing in the aspect of not having enough country competition, whereas like soccer, I mean, every other month you have something with your country involved, easy to get behind. I don't care what's going on in the world. Everyone can get behind their own country, cheering them on to do something magnificent. Awesome thing going on in hockey. And I hope this expands. I hope that they do something to where this becomes something bigger than Four Nations. I think they picked the greatest of the Four Nations to start it off. Fantastic. Oh, dude, like I said, I'm over the moon with it. I love it. And last night with the USA and Canada, you had 3 fights in the first 9 seconds. I mean, you've got the booing of national anthems and you've got your politics and this and that. No one cares about that, because it all became about hockey. And I think that's the most important thing, because a lot of people forget, no matter what's going on in the world, no matter which side you lean to politically, no matter what your religious beliefs are, no matter what your political beliefs are, right? It boils down to the boys that are donning those jerseys and making it happen for your country. And I mean, the first 9 seconds, 3 fights, they said, all right, boys, let's get it in. They dropped the gloves. They let it happen. And they fired 2 entire nations up. I mean, name another sport where you can do this, where it's just the puck drops and you know what? Hey, you and me right now, we're going. And both sides are about it. And it was built up. We haven't won in, I think, 15 years against Canada. I mean, Sidney Crosby has an outrageous stat against the United States. So, I mean, coming from the United States side, obviously I'm biased. I bleed red, white, and blue. But, I mean, we come out, both Kachuk brothers, the United States of Kachuk, just let them know something. Dropping the mitts, putting the paws on them. I mean, this is what it's about. This is what it's about. It's important. It's important. This is over 100 years boiling up. I mean, yeah, in 1980, the Miracle on Ice beating the Russians obviously was huge. This is our next greatest opponent, and we're letting them know we're not little brother anymore. You can't punk us anymore. And last night, a win in regulation sears and cements that put that spot in the championship game Thursday night.
Yeah, Canada. Get out of here. Yeah, it was it was like goosebumps, hair raising type of stuff that's going on. And maybe next year, or maybe this becomes like an every other year. I have a feeling they're like, let's go back to some kind of all-star format, because but I don't know why they would do that, because they'll be like, hey, you're basically, if you make the all-star team, you're going to go play for the country that you come from. Right. So maybe that's how they're looking at this. Things again. The jerseys are sweet for every nation, and I don't know what other country could you see, or would you want to see them add to this? Because these are the four biggest. These are like the four biggest. I guess population in the NHL. Finland, Sweden, Canada, and the U.S.
No, that's completely right. I think I'd like to see. There's a lot of Czechoslovakians in there. I think that would be fun to see. Minus everything that's going on in the world. I'm just talking strictly sports. I'd like to see the Russians in there, because they've got some great players, and Alex Ovechkin and company. I think another great team that would be able to, we'd be able to see in there is possibly Great Britain. They've got a few players, not in the NHL, but back in the European leagues. I mean, you've got opportunities and options there. I think that this is something that I think the NHL got right, that any other sport doesn't really have the advantage of, other and outside of the World Baseball Classic. I mean, this is phenomenal. And once again, this is not something that the fans want, or not only something that the fans want, but something that the players care about. And that's where you're going to nail it every time, is giving the players something to play for.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like what we were talking about a few weeks back with, the home field advantage and the all-star game and the baseball and, those kinds of things. And once again, this is something everyone can get behind, because no matter what's going on in the world, everyone wants to don that jersey and represent their country. And I just like to say it, in your face, Canada, in your face. We did it.
Yeah. Yeah, and maybe Cale Makar being sick affected that game. I don't know, but when you have like a McKinnon and McDavid line, and a Crosby line on there, it just didn't seem like U.S. even was intimidated by the talent that's on the Canada side. And like you said, it's cool seeing the Kachuk brothers play together. We don't get to see that in the regular NHL, stuff like that. And like you said, something to play for. You don your country's colors and flags and everything, you're going to play hard. And like you said, and that's why I said maybe they do this every 2 years, or I hate to see it every 4 years. That's way too long in between. I brought that up because that's how the World Baseball Classic is. It's only every couple years they do it. It's like the Olympics in baseball. I think it's only every other 4 years, right?
Yeah, and COVID messed it up too, so I don't know exactly how they're going to respond with that. Yeah,
so we will see if that comes back, but yeah, I mean this, and now the NBA is saying, I don't know how much this is true, but they're saying they should do like an international, U.S. versus the world or something like that. And I'll tell you right now, if they did that, the world is the world is coming down on the U.S.
Oh, and you know what? And I'll say this: no matter, and this is my favorite thing about this country, is no matter what's going on, no matter what your political or religious beliefs are, once that red, white, blue comes on, I feel the majority is like, hey, let's get it, dude. Let's get it. Forget all of our differences right now. We are on the same team. And I think that's what makes this country great. And I think that's what makes sports great. And, you're not for nothing, Michael, but as a Red Wings fan, getting to see Dylan Larkin score, Detroit's captain score against, the world's best tonight for the winning goal and the go-ahead goal. Dude, I was ecstatic. I was jumping up and down. I was high-fiving my buddy. I'm telling you, like I said, this is something that I think NHL has gotten right that no other sports has been able to obtain outside of the World Baseball Classic. Got to build on it, make it grow, make it happen more.
Yeah, and I was gonna say maybe they should have the World Baseball Classic turn into the All-Star game, but like we mentioned before, the MLB All-Star game, there's really nothing wrong with it. So they could probably keep that. Although I will say they need to go back to wearing their team's jersey. No more of this. If you want to do it on the Skills Saturday or whatever,
Perfect.
but
leave,
like that.
Leave the All-Star game alone.
Yeah, leave the same with the NBA. I mean, I know. Today's game is going to be, they're trying something new. I'll give them credit. So we'll see what it's a 4-team thing. I think Candace Parker has like the Rising Stars, Shaq has the OGs, and Chuck has the World or something like that. So there's 4 teams going at it. So we will see kind of a knockout style tournament. We'll see if it works. So they are kind of trying what the NHL is trying. They're doing 4 teams. It's not going to be as long as the 4 nations face off because that's going a week strong. So we will see what happens in the NBA official All-Star game tonight from San Francisco. All right, moving on to the ice list. What was wrong with the NBA skills competition or skills Saturday was that they nixed the Sabrina versus Steph 3-point contest. Honestly, that was all I was looking forward to, not only last year, but this year, because they were going to try like a 2-on-2. I know Caitlin Clark turned it down, but they were going to try like, Steph and Damian Lillard. I'm just throwing Dame's name out versus, Sabrina and insert player here. But the whole thing got nixed anyway, which is kind of sad. And, at least the NBA's 3-point contest, the normal one, had some big names in it. Tyler Hero ended up winning it from the Miami Heat as he knocked out Buddy Hield. Buddy Hield he could not miss in the first round. And then all he needed was to hit one more ball, and he came up literally 1 point short of tying Tyler Hero. I don't know how overtime works in the 3-point contest, but the 3-point contest was actually a little bit interesting just because the names that were in it. Like, get the F out of here, Carl Anthony Towns. What the hell you doing? Stupid. But Dame was going for his 3rd straight 3-point contest champion. He got knocked out in the first round, so Tyler Hero wins it for Miami. But I was looking forward to Sabrina versus Steph, but it got nixed, Mark, so we did not get that this year.
No, I agree with you. I think, honestly, my honest opinion, I think they missed an opportunity to kind of integrate there and showcase the talent on both sides.
Sorry,
I was hoping for it.
Yeah, especially when the new franchise is starting up this season in the Bay Area Valkyries.
Right, and not only that. And now I understand like CeCe's opinion on this one, but could you imagine a world that accepted and was ready for, which I think is the one that we're living in, but the world that's going to say, hey, we want CeCe to go up against the best of the NBA. We want, insert, great WNBA player against NBA player. I think a 2-on-2 or even a 3-point contest, like we were talking about. I think the integration of that is phenomenal, and I think they missed the boat.
Yeah, so maybe they'll figure out something for next year. I don't know. Or, instead of I don't know how popular the celebrity game is. I don't think I've ever watched it. Maybe 3-on-3 basketball is becoming bigger and bigger, especially since the women's side in the Olympics has won a couple gold medals. Instead of the celebrity game, do like a 3-on-3 NBA versus WNBA or something like that as well, just to integrate it. Especially you have literally a brand new franchise starting this season in that city where they're hosting the All-Star game, and I did not hear one thing about it. So
no, and once again they missed the boat. Market them, I mean, do your part and showcase them, And not only that, but and honestly, it doesn't even have to be WNBA and NBA, but let's like mix it up, right? Let's go one WNBA, one NBA versus one WNBA and NBA. I mean, let's mix it up. Let's market our players. Let's market those cities. Let's market those franchises, and let's spread the love. And I just, once again, I feel like they missed the boat. I really did.
Yeah, I noticed there was Rakia Jackson from the LA Sparks. She was in the celebrity game, but I mean that's
No one watches.
yeah. I mean, and they're like, what movie is Rakia Jackson starring? Like, they're probably gonna think she's a singer or
actress.
yeah. So they kind of, like you said, missed the boat on that one. Next on the ice list. Well, we thought we were done talking about football, Mark, but football is a 365-day-a-year business, and it is a business, the literal term of a business. Earlier this week, the New York Jets announced that they would be moving on and going in a different direction at quarterback, which means your former boy, I don't know if he's your boy anymore,
He
but
is. He's
but
still
you
my
know,
boy.
the A-A-A-ARod and the Jets experiment is now over.
I
Really,
love what you did there.
Really? Really only after one season, because he literally played 30 seconds last season and got hurt. And it was not the season I don't think he nor anybody in that organization was expecting. They have a terrible year. They bring in Devontae Adams. He probably wished he had stayed at the Raiders at that point. And it was just a terrible year. And then they hire Aaron Glenn, the former defensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions. He basically says, did he say this? Was it him that said, you got to stop going on Pat McAfee's show? Basically giving, I don't know how much truth there was to that, but it was kind of rumor spreading. And I was like, do you really want to give Aaron Rodgers an ultimatum? And they did, I guess. And then they were like, yeah, maybe he told them, no, I'm going to be on that show every week. And they're like, all right, see ya.
Well, and they forget too, though. Him and AJ Hawk are friends. Him and Pat are friends. And here's the thing: I'm going to stick up for Aaron every time. Every time. I think that he's got a bad rap because of the Green Bay front office. They made him look like a prima donna. They made him look like a guy who was out for himself, and he wasn't. If everybody like rewinds the clock and actually in real time listens to what he had to say, I mean, it was never about him. It was always a second thought. Hey, let me take a minute. We'll come back to this. The Green Bay front office, if everyone remembers correctly, said, hey, we're sticking with Aaron Rodgers. As soon as we talk with him in February, everything's going to happen. We'll make it. We'll make it work. And then they turn around and sorry, Aaron, we're going a different direction. But a lot of people have short-term memories. They did that with Favre. Favre, I think, played a little bit more of the I'm retiring, not retiring game. But ultimately, it was the same exact story. A lot of people forget that Aaron Rodgers adjusted his contract for the Green Bay Packers. He tried to. What makes me mad is they were like, all right, Aaron, what do you want? So Aaron would come out publicly because he was asked publicly, what do you want? And he would say that, and then they would go a different direction. And then they'd leave Aaron in the dust, right? They wouldn't even come back because people forget about those things. They forget about the small details. So going forward, back into the Jets, if you will, where if we're being honest, I think the kids that are taking over played Madden at best for the Jets. Now they're, well, we got to do this and this and this and this. Well, Aaron Rodgers only wanted to bring in all of his friends and everybody that he played in the past with and this and that. Everybody forgets when Aaron Rodgers first went to the Jets, they were like, hey, what do you need to make a winner? And he said, well, these are the people that I have great relationships with and great chemistry with on the field. Let's make it happen. Oh, okay, cool. Let's do it. And then it doesn't work because they didn't give him an offensive line. They got him a defense, They got him a defense, but they did not get him protected. And everything falls back on Aaron Rodgers because his name is Aaron Rodgers. And I hate the hate that he's getting over it all. So personally, I hope that he ends up with one more season. I don't want to see him in the fucking Vikings jersey that
I was
Favre
just going to
ended
say,
up
is
in.
he following Brett Favre's legacy?
Yeah, I don't want that. Even though it's looking that way. But I hope he gets one more season where he gets a real shot at it. I really believe that the Jets didn't protect him the way that they should have. Just the same way, if you remember back when we beat or when we lost to Tom Brady, he didn't have the offensive weapons to take care of Tom Brady. We had the defense. We lost 14-12. So I mean, we did our job. We held Tom Brady to 14 points. I mean, what else can he ask for? So I personally hope nothing but the best for Aaron Rodgers. And it's tough. I mean, it's going to be a tough free agency for him.
Yeah, and I saw somewhere that the Steelers actually have the best odds in landing Aaron Rodgers. So I guess that would be a switch up from his boy that he sat behind for a few years in Brett Favre. And if he goes to the Vikings, like I don't know, that would be like the weirdest storyline ever because of what Brett Favre did. But Aaron Rodgers was not drafted by the Atlanta Falcons, so I guess that's a little bit different. Right. Not a lot of people realize that Brett Favre actually started with the Falcons.
Agreed.
Yeah. I saw like that card, his Falcons card, like sold for like over $1 million because it's so rare. Because you never see really any pictures of him in a Falcons jersey.
Right. No, I completely agree. And once again, though, I mean, Brett Favre was something special. I think Aaron Rodgers is another something special, but it was, I think he gets way more hate because of the media. And like I said, a lot of people forget all the small details. And a lot of it, in my opinion, is the Green Bay Packers fans. Once again, I'm a Green Bay Packer fan, but the Packers fans are spoiled. They're spoiled. And as soon as he started losing, and it wasn't his fault, because you got Matt LaFleur, who's supposed to be an offensive guru, right? However, he's only made defensive draft picks. And it's like you've got all these things, offensively that's supposed to be on his side, and he doesn't add to the offense. A lot of people forget. Also, when we lost to the Niners a few years back in the playoffs, we lost because of a block punt that was returned for a touchdown inside our own 5, right? We didn't give up one offensive touchdown, offensive touchdown against the Niners, which back then was a juggernaut offensively, and they turned around and they still drafted another defensive player. The special teams, certain places on the offense was always our issues. And I mean, I don't think, in all honesty, now I don't have the facts in front of me, but I am willing to bet money that we were not in the last 7 years below a top 10 defense. And when those things happen, because your name is Aaron Rodgers, you're going to get blamed. But there was way more to that. And it bothers me that he was called the prima donna and he was the issue and he wanted money. Those are never the circumstances.
Yeah, seems like, and then Hard Knocks. Hard Knocks really actually made me like Aaron Rodgers a little bit. So congrats to Hard Knocks for putting Aaron Rodgers on there and changing my mind about him, because I had that perception of him as well. And, obviously, the media will hype things up 10 times, probably more than what it is. And, I guess it's just, people who write stuff doing their job, trying to dig up something. And usually where there's smoke, there's fire. But, especially in the time of social media, some of these stupid I don't even follow some of these outlets, Mark. And I'm like, this might be the dumbest post I've ever seen. And, it's probably just whoever's doing it to spark something up, spark a conversation, get people talking. But like you said, yeah, putting it in the limelight of the media ups it at least 10 times probably bigger than what it is. Where I guess two-part question, where would you want to see him go besides going back to the Packers? And where do you think he's going to go?
Well, honestly, I don't want to see him come back to the Packers. I think that would just ruin what the Packers have going with Jordan Love and once again, the youngest team in the NFL 2 years running. But where I hope he ends up is a team where there isn't, and there's a few out there. And obviously, the Vikings are on the top of that list only because they are willing to not sign or dish Sam Darnold, if you will, who had a phenomenal year in Minnesota. But I'm hoping that he ends up in a situation where it's not a quarterback controversy, turmoil area. And I'm hoping that he ends up in a team where he can make some noise. I don't think Pittsburgh is a great spot for him. You got Russell Wilson, maybe in, maybe out. But most importantly, you got Justin Fields with nothing but his future ahead of him. I mean, you've got.
What about Tennessee?
I was just going to say you got Tennessee, but Tennessee
giving up
doesn't
on
really
Will
have
Levi.
Well, I don't think you'd give up on him. I think he could learn from Aaron Rodgers. However, the problem with Tennessee is they don't have a complete team. And I think it'd be another Jets kind of thing where, once again, I think the Jets kind of pulled what the Bears pull every other year, where it's like a quarterback's going to solve all of our issues. And it's like, no, man, you've got so many things going wrong with that organization. One guy's not going to change it. And so I hope he doesn't find himself in a situation where he's the saving grace, if you will. But I hope he finds himself in a situation where he can find a competitive team where he can make a go at it, where he doesn't end his career as an embarrassment, if you will.
Yeah, so maybe the 49ers would be like, Aaron, come home. We'll bench Purdy for a season or two. And just come home to California.
And if he does that, I can't blame him, but that would break my heart. I hate the Niners.
So there you go. That I don't know what kind of phase the honeymoon phase, I guess, with the New York Jets, as it is not officially over. They have like a certain time to waive them or release them. And then the Jets face a $49 million cap hit.
Yeah.
If and when they release them. So that's a pretty substantial chunk of change to. I don't know if giving up on Aaron Rodgers is the right term, but moving on from him. So that's a pretty big chunk of change to just throw in the trash. Just kind of like the Broncos are doing. They're like, yeah, we'll pay Russell Wilson to play for somebody else.
Right.
So,
no, I agree. I think it's going to hurt the Jets. In all honesty, right? I really do. I think it's going to hurt the Jets. As I do feel that Aaron Rodgers had a great second half of the season, just numbers wise. But unfortunately, the only numbers that people look at and fans look at are going to be the wins in the win column. I think the Jets would be doing themselves a favor if they were to add to that line, maybe get them a running back that doesn't get hurt halfway through the season, and giving Devontae Adams, Alan Lazard and company, Garrett Wilson, right? Give those guys a chance to actually be a team. Because when the Jets got him and signed him, they were like, this is the answer. It's going to happen right now. And what pissed me off the most was when Aaron Rodgers was still a Packer, they were like, the Packers will never win a Super Bowl with 12 under center. As soon as he went to the Jets, all of a sudden the Jets are a Super Bowl contender. They can make it happen. And it was like, well, all right, hold on. Wait a second, guys. You're talking about the same guy, right? Same guy. He went to a different team and virtually had more problems as a Jet than he did. The Packers were a more complete team, if you will. Not that they were the team to make it happen, but they were more of a complete team than the Jets. And it was two different stories they were giving you. All of a sudden, the Jets, when you went to make bets, they were favorites all of a sudden every week, or for a playoff appearance, and it was like, whoa, this is the same guy that you're giving virtually night and day differences on.
Yeah, it is pretty crazy. So we will see what the next step in the journey is for Aaron Rodgers, or he just might. I don't know if shock's the right word, or just call it a career. He's 41 years old. I don't know, unless he goes. I mean, I don't see him riding off into the sunset mark with a Super Bowl trophy. It's going to be hard. Probably the teams that need a quarterback aren't. He's not going to be, like you said, the immediate fix. So I don't see him. I unfortunately are not winning a Super Bowl and then riding off into the sunset, unless he goes the Sam Darnold route or a veteran quarterback route and just sits behind somebody who has a good young, if he goes, hypothetically, if he goes to Washington, sits behind Jaden Daniels and they win the Super Bowl next year, hey, there you go. You just made probably like $2 million to sit on the bench and you're walking out with the Super Bowl. But I don't think that's going to happen because Aaron Rodgers still probably has something left in the tank. So that's probably not going to happen.
No, I completely agree. And part of me hopes that he just retires, even though that I hate seeing him go out that way. I just, like I said, I don't really see another route that he could take, another opportunity that would be
unless he goes to the team who shares the city with them. But I think the Giants are looking more in the draft than they are acquiring somebody.
Agreed. And Dave Ball is well over his eyes and problems.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens with Aaron Rodgers this off season. But definitely interesting to see that kind of go down. I don't know if it was a shock to a lot of people, but it happened. It's happening. It's happening right now, right before our eyes. Are you going to watch any of the All-Star game tonight?
I might peek in on it. It doesn't capture my attention like it used to, I guess. I don't know. What about you?
I mean, I might tune in just to see how the 4-team thing is going to work out. Switching up the format is probably it is what the NBA needed. Just like we talked about the 4 nations face off, they're doing like a 4-team tournament style. So we'll see if that works out. Honestly, I think Shaq's team. Yeah, Shaq has the world team pretty much, and
I think he's got the best opportunity.
Yeah, because just Jokic and Giannis alone, but Giannis is hurt, so that didn't really. Yeah, he got replaced by like Trae Young of all people. So I don't know how much that's going to affect the world team, but Shaq on paper probably has the best team as it currently stands.
Chuck will make a run at it. In my opinion, I think Chuck will make a run at it. Like you said, Shaq's got the scariest team on paper, but in all seriousness, it's just not the same intensity or prestige, if you will, like what the NHL has going on. Like Thursday, I'm there. Thursday night, I'm there. I'm watching. I don't even care if I come home late and I'm catching it mid, second period. I'm there.
Yeah. So maybe this will draw people in and be like, hey, we should do this every year. And so, Jokic also has Shea on that team as well. So the 2 front runners for MVP already this season on the same team. So we'll see how that pans out. as well. You know what I have been watching? Nothing to do with sports, but it was they just had on NBC this evening. Mark, was the 50 years of music on Saturday Night Live,
Did see
which
that.
was pretty interesting. They have a really cool documentary on Peacock. They had one episode literally just talking about the cowbell skit with Will Ferrell and Christopher Walken.
Iconic.
Yeah, so I mean, it's cool. I mean, all behind the scenes interviews and stuff like that. I haven't watched any really new episodes of Saturday Night Live. My opinion, the two best eras, and I kind of define it as like the Adam Sandler era, and then that turned into the Will Ferrell era, and those two were the best eras. And Will Ferrell, and I forgot the girl's name, but he played. They were like the church. He played the piano and she sang. They just did Kendrick Lamar's "Not Like Us." So go watch that if you haven't. That was pretty funny. But
and you know, to talk about the Adam Sandler era, I mean, he had Chris Farley, he had David Spade, he had what's his name, McDonald Norman.
Yep.
I mean, they had dude, Saturday Night Live.
I mean, that's where all those guys became friends too.
Yeah.
And then they were all in each other's movies.
Yeah, they became Happy Madison Productions.
Yeah.
I mean, it was great. I mean, you had
Rob Schneider was even back then.
Fantastic comedy.
Yeah, Rob Schneider was on back then.
Rob Schneider, yeah.
Yeah. Not a lot of people realize like all these people that came from Saturday Night Live. But if you haven't seen like any of these documentaries, because it is the 50th season, today they're doing a huge anniversary special, which is weird on a Sunday. But I mean, they're bringing back like Chevy Chase, Chris Rock, Eddie Murphy. So go check that out as
Damon
well.
Wayans, all of them.
Yeah, they were talking about Damon Wayans as well. He literally went rogue on a skit and literally got fired as he was walking off the stage right after that skit.
Yep,
but then, and they kind of made amends. He came back and hosted a couple times, but
it was never the same.
They said the one thing to get yourself fired like during a show is like going rogue on a skit.
Yeah, as Shane Gillis, right?
Yeah. So that's that was pretty interesting. So, and I also caught the new Captain America movie last night. So,
not impressed. I was.
I thought it was better than expected. I wasn't expecting. I don't know what I was expecting, Mark, because I guess they're entering the new phase. The post Thanos, I guess. I think it's like phase 6 or something crazy, but it was better than expected, I thought. And I had, heard rumblings of the Red Hulk, and that was a crazy twist in the movie. And I like Anthony Mackie. I liked him as Falcon. Him being Captain America, I think that's what people just can't get used to. But it is what it is, I guess.
No, I love Anthony Mackie. I wanted him to get a lead role. I just wish. Now, mind you, I haven't watched it yet. I'm only going on secondhand information, which the information I got, he loved the movie, but however, the details that I got, I hate because once again, I love Anthony Mackie. I want him to get a great role, and as a Superman fan, mind you, I love Superman. I think he's the greatest superhero, and I'm willing to argue and debate with anybody over that. However, the Superman movies were absolutely atrocious. They were awful. There was never a good one. There wasn't good Superman movie.
I was gonna say we can get into Marvel versus DC any day, because DC has just fumbled constantly.
Oh,
like
dude,
they're like here's a Superman movie, and then 5 years later, let's make a new one with a new actor,
and it's still terrible.
I mean, same with they just keep remaking the same movie with different people. And like they're not progressing any of the storyline.
No, and what's crazy is to nerd out for a second, but if you read any of the old Superman comics, I mean, yeah, you can argue your thing with Kryptonite, but Superman was the guy. He was the superhero, and they fumbled it and fumbled it and fumbled it, and they messed it up so bad. Where now people nowadays are like, "Oh, Superman's a punk," and it's like, If you understood what Superman really was, I mean, it would be not even close. But what bothers me with this new Captain America is, I'm sorry, there's nothing stopping the Hulk, right? You can throw in any interesting metal here, the biranium and the antrinanium or whatever they called it, but he's still the Hulk because there's no beating that guy. When it comes to when he gets hurt, he gets angry. When he gets angry, he gets stronger. When he gets stronger, he does more damage. I mean, in the old comics, when he jumped at thousands of miles. I mean, that's how strong he was. And now you're telling me that a Captain America could beat this guy, and they didn't even fill in the details. Totally.
Well, I'll have to disagree with that. You'll have to watch it because you'll change your opinion on that if you see it.
Okay, that's good to know.
I will say that because when he does jump, he literally looks like he's flying.
Okay, all right,
Yeah.
That's good to know.
Yeah. So, yeah. So I thought it was better than expected. The villain was interesting. I'm not going to give too much away because you haven't seen it, but at least it's progressing like the Marvel storyline. And that's what I mean. People have. I guess got sick of Marvel. They haven't really come out. They didn't really come out with a ton last year.
Right.
I mean, they were making shows on Disney Plus like every 3 months. They were coming out with movies, and like almost, it seemed like 3-4 movies a year.
Right.
And then the whole. I don't know if you saw the recent Ant-Man, but like the whole, Kang the Conqueror drama with Jonathan Majors, the actor who played him, had like domestic something issues in his personal life.
Yeah, and
he basically got fired. Yeah, he basically got fired, but I guess that got all cleared up and was proven innocent. So they're bringing him back, but they were just like, let's scrap the whole Kang the Conqueror storyline. But it's going to be interesting to see if it's true that they brought him back, Mark, if they continue that, because he's supposed to be the next big villain. And then they kind of scrap that because they're bringing Robert Downey Jr. back as Dr. Doom. So, which I do. I love Robert Downey Jr. Yeah, I love Robert Downey Jr., but come on, he's Iron Man.
He's Iron Man. He's Tony Stark.
Like, you can't. I love him, but I hate when they use the same person as a different character, or just keep redoing movies like DC does with the same character but using different actors. I mean,
agreed.
Listen, The Dark Knight with Christian Bale and Heath Ledger.
Oh, hands down best.
Yeah, sorry. You can make 1,000 Batman movies after that. None's gonna beat it.
I'm a firm believer where I'm going to say this: the Jack Nicholson is the godfather of the Joker. Heath Ledger was the perfection. Christian Bale and Michael Keaton, same thing. Michael Keaton was the Batman, and then Christian Bale doing his thing, perfected it. And R.I.P. Heath Ledger. But once again, like you said, they replace these characters, and it hurts my heart because it's like they're never gonna be that good. What are we doing?
Yeah, and like I said, a lot of people had Marvel fatigue, getting sick of all this. But at least like the storyline is progressing, so it'll be interesting to see what they do now, and when like Dr. Doom makes his appearance and what movie that's going to be. Of course, they had the post-credit scene in this Captain America, which obviously is going to setting up the next movie. So, and we'll see. So I don't know if any more shows are coming out on Disney Plus, but I don't know. We'll see what happens this year. I know they announced a lot at San Diego Comic-Con last year, but we'll see what the timeline is moving forward. Also, I don't know if you're a Cobra Kai fan, but they released the last half season of the final season. Did you watch it? Okay.
I'm gonna start it tomorrow.
As I say, I binged it all. I binged it all on Thursday.
Yeah, I had to wait.
Not all of it, but just like the new episodes.
Right. No, I had to wait for the wife, so I can't wait to start it. I absolutely love that series, so I can't wait.
All righty. So there you go. That's our entertainment portion of Elevation Sports and lifestyle. That's our lifestyle portion of things. And yeah, you say nerd out. I'm wearing a Star Wars jersey, for Christ's sake.
I love it.
So, yeah, we will see what goes on in the movie. You might see more movie and TV series come through our network more as time goes on as well. But that's going to do it for us here on the Wheelhouse this morning. Hope you all enjoy the rest of the day. If you're going to watch the All-Star game tonight in the NBA, just make sure you cheer for Nikola Jokic. Just kidding, but yeah, so we'll see if this new format works for that. Mark, once again, thanks for sitting in.
Thanks for having me. Always a blast.
All right, that's going to do it for us here. Make sure you go to all of our socials and YouTube and Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Music, and go to our home base, e5280sports.com. We will talk to you next week.